probably why you've asked, because the call is just so very nice and very distinctive. Let me find it for you. Of course, one must never drive and look at a bird app, everybody. It's very dangerous. Not so, Brian.
You hit tree stumps like that.
Exactly, you hit tree stumps like the one that I hit earlier. Why the fish eagle is not with the rest of the eagles is beyond me. I'm going to hit something. There it is. Yes, hopefully not another tree stump. Here we go, everybody.
Wonderful.
Cool. There you go. That's what it sounds like, everyone. Once more. The wonderful sound of the African bush, that. Shut up now. Thank you very much. No tracks of lions in this area. We're going to do another loop around here on another road that we haven't driven yet. We have also seen lots of kudu, lots of nyala. Unfortunately, you were looking at, well, very fortunately, you were looking at the lions at the time, so we didn't sort of drag you over to look at them. I always find it so amazing how it seems that, you know, those lions were there, 3 of them against a seemingly injured buffalo cow, and they give up. I don't really understand what it is, what makes them give up in a situation like that. It's always quite interesting. Because so often you think we're going to see a kill now, this is an amazing, you know, this is the perfect setup. Nothing. Alright, let's do a drive up this way and see if we can't find anything, any evidence of those cubs. I think that they're quite deep in the block there, and I think it's going to be difficult for us to see them. But we might just be lucky that she's brought them out onto the road or somewhere close by. And they do seek the refuge of these rather thick, sort of thick bushy areas because they're great places for the cubs to hide. Oh! Those moths that we saw, they're called burnets. Well, similar to burnets, they're actually called footmen. And when we get up to the top here, I'll stop and I'll show you a picture of them. Well, sort of burnets. I think they're related to the burnets. It's called a footman. Why they've decided to come out in the winter time, I can't imagine. It seems like a very odd time. No flowers for them to eat. Anyway, let's just have a listen here, and while we have a listen, I'll show you the footman. Ah, where are you? I should find them, everybody. I should find them quickly, but you know, sometimes I forget where these things are. Not the frother. Bauer's frother moth. No, there it is. The plated footman. And they apparently live in Fynbos, the subtropical forest, but I'm not sure what they eat. I'm just going to quickly have a look and see what they eat. They're all related, these chaps here. Forest moths, blah blah, hump capable body. It doesn't say what they eat. Don't know. Anyway, that's what they are. And oh, yeah, I don't know why there should be a flush now on a guarri bush. So they're obviously hatched close by to that guarri bush. I suspect they're all going to die, because I suspect they're all looking for... Oh, you know why? I'll show you exactly why they're flowered. Check this out. Ha! This is a guarri bush. And it's starting... Oh, those aren't flowers. Those are the startings of the berries. That's very odd. I wonder if they aren't going... You know what, they're not. They're buds. These are buds. These are flower buds for the guarri bush. Very strange time of the year, unless you're evergreen, in which case it's probably quite a clever time of the year because there's much less competition for nutrients. That's exactly what these footmen are going for. That's really interesting. And they were sitting on a guarri bush just like this. Are you so amazed, Brian?
Absolutely.
Gobsmacked beyond all belief. Yes, I know. I know.
There was an update.
What was the update?
Jamie has a flat tire.
Jamie is the first to flatten a rusty tire. That is impressive. I suspect very strongly that something went through the sidewall. Ooh. Apparently they're cubs at the lion sighting. Oh dear. I wonder if we can get in there. I think there are thousands of people trying to get there. That's a real pity. I'm just going to listen to see if we can't maybe get in there. Yeah, no, there are 3 or 4 people standing by, so I'm afraid we're not going to get in there. Anyway, so the cubs are right around there. So they're not around here. That is a dreadful pity. I'm now at a loss. I don't know what to do. Brian, what should we do? Find other cubs?
Yes.
Leopard cubs, maybe.
Leopard cubs, hyena cubs.
Hyena cubs. Maybe that's a good option. Maybe we should head towards the hyena den. I was so sure we were going to find little lion cubs around here. Oh well. Let me just get a quick update on the radio to find out how many people there are going there. It sounds like 3 or 4 though. Mike, do you copy? Silence. Station in control of the lion sighting near Bivelshoek, come in. Maybe am I speaking English? I am speaking English, aren't I?
Sorry, say again?
Yeah, you see, exactly the problem. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on there. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get in there, everyone, I'm afraid. I'll just keep an ear on the radio, but for now we'll have to try and find some other things. I hope you don't mind. Mike, do you copy Mike? Afternoon, Mike. Mike, what's the vehicle situation in that sighting? Okay, copy. Yeah, do not to worry about me. I'll move in if everyone moves out. Thanks. We might be in. Okay, I'm just listening to Mike talking about it. Okay, we might have a chance, everyone. I'm not sure. We don't have a huge amount of light left, and we won't view them once the sun goes down. Okay, copy. Thanks. Yours not to worry. We've had a very nice lion sighting today, so you go for it. Alright, what else can we find, Brian? Come on. Where are the leopard cubs? Now, as I was saying, Jamie, of course, one of the first to burst a rusty tyre. I thought they were absolutely indestructible. I suspect quite strongly that a stump snuck up on her from the side and burst the side wall. And I say one of the only because I think the only up until now who had managed that was me. Right, a couple of birds in this area. We'll just move a little slower up here. There's a warthog. Brian, you see it? You've got him there. Monique in London. You want to know if anyone's... That's perfect, isn't it, Brian? Oh, man. Sorry about the noise, everyone. I'm just moving the microphone in my hat. It's very painful. It's digging into my skull. There we are. Monique, you want to know about whether anyone's seen Sandile of late since his collar stopped pinging. Oh, have we got a squirrel there? No, not a squirrel. What a pity. Was it a green wood hoopoo? Well done, Brian. Thank you very much. Monique, there have been 2 sightings of him, both on kills since then. One on Elephant Plains and the other one, I think, a little bit further south of that. So, yes, he's fine. He's walking about the place and he's killing fairly substantial prey. I think he had an impala the other day, which is great. So I wasn't convinced that he was going to be able to sort of take larger prey, given that when he left here, he was taking only mongoose and that sort of thing. But he seems to be okay. There's the green wood hoopoo that Brian was talking about is in this tree there. You can just see its tail sticking out, and you can also hear it going. There you are. And he'll be looking for little grubs and worms and things that are underneath the bark and in the holes that have been dug by wood borer beetles. Isn't that nice? And as I have explained to you before, they were, of course, known as the green, at least as the red-billed wood hoopoo, which was a very logical name to call them. And they're now called the green wood hoopoo because they aren't green. It's a little odd, I feel. Anyway, that's the green wood hoopoo. Very beautiful bird. And in Zulu, of course, known as Guhleka Bafazi, which means the laughing woman. There they are. There's a bit of a bird party going on here. There are those green wood hoopoos. There are some grey hornbills. And there were some Birchall starlings as well. It's very nice. Sharpening, yeah, it's catching all sorts of things in there. I wonder if there aren't some termites also crawling up and down the bark. And you must notice here, that is not a woodpecking beak. So although it looks like it's pecking the branches, it's actually pecking in between the bark layer and the wood. It is not a beak that's able to dig holes in dead wood. And not adapted to doing that, but they do then go and live in woodpeckers' holes. Very nice, Brian. Well done. Very sedate. Not quite lion cubs, but not bad. Alrighty, on we go. There's a... Let me just go back a bit, sorry. We've just got a few crested francolins, everyone. Cindy, you're in North Carolina and you say, are peacocks found in this area? Peacocks are known now, I think, by the sort of more ornithological term Indian peafowl. And they're known as Indian peafowl because they are found in India. They're not actually found here. And just beyond the... So, I mean, yes, they have been imported into this area. But just beyond the crested francolin, of course, Brian, there seems to be an elephant. That's very nice of him to show himself to us. Let me just reverse back a little. Come on, Wendy. There you go. Oh. That's very nice to see. Let's see if maybe the rest of the herd is here. This could well be the other herd. So the Indian peafowl is native to India, obviously. As far as I'm aware, but I don't find it in my bird app. It might be in my bird book. And so while they have been imported to this area and are found in various exotic gardens around the place, you won't find them in the wild. There's a little calf there. It was just the two of them. Let me see if I can quickly find it for you. Where do I... It's not in this... Oh, there we go. Got it. Common peafowl, sorry. Not Indian peafowl. feral population exists on Robben Island. That's the only sort of a wild existing population of the Indian peafowl, or the common peafowl. It'd be quite fun to see a peafowl knocking about here, wouldn't it be, Brian? I'd be most surprised to hear "caw-caw." There we go, she's a lovely cow, coming very confidingly closer towards us. I don't know where the rest of them are. I don't know why there are only two. I can't hear any others moving either. Try and get an age on that calf. Still seem, I can hear a few more in the background now. Oh, I think that's a little thing, you know. Just walking very slowly with Mum. Hello Motaz, you're a new viewer and you have asked a very good question, especially for a new viewer. And it's especially relevant if you're ever planning on coming to Africa. You say, is it safe for us to be driving around on an open vehicle around lions and elephants? And the answer, Motaz, is yes, if you are careful. And so we understand the animal behavior, well, we try and understand the animal behavior. We read their body language. So in the case of the elephants, while she very clearly does not see us as a threat, and the little one doesn't either, and so we're perfectly safe being here. Were we to irritate her, we could drive away, and then there would be no threat, so it would increase the space between us and her, and that would decrease any threat that there might be. As far as lions go, lions don't perceive us as a threat in the vehicles. Now remember, Motaz, that it's wonderful. Almost no animals out here are inherently aggressive, which means that the lions don't see us as something to attack. And indeed, when we're on foot, Motaz, they're afraid of us. So they see us as a threat completely when we're on foot, and they run away normally. And when you're in the vehicle, they don't see you in the same way as they do when you're on foot. And so it's a very kind of, sort of relaxed situation when they're in the vehicles. Sometimes they run away from the vehicles, but very, very seldom do they run towards us and create a threat. Isn't that nice? That was wonderful. And the little one just sort of trying to use the trunk, I'd say probably maybe not quite a year. Not quite as little as I thought. You can see how the trees are being absolutely mangled. Hello Brock, I'm not sure that I've heard from you either. You say, do elephants huddle together during extreme temperatures and extreme rainstorms in the same way that cattle do? Brock, no, I don't think they do. I've never seen them doing that. Remember, they don't get as cold as cattle do because they are so much bigger, and so they lose heat much more slowly than something like a cow would. And so, look, the little ones do lie down, and the little ones will seek out the comfort of their mothers and the warmth that their mothers provide. But they don't huddle in the same way that cattle do. No, that's an interesting question. Their skin is also not completely waterproof. So while it is water resistant, it's not completely waterproof. And I wonder if that doesn't make them colder or hotter. I'm not sure. And if you look at this cow here, she's struggling a little. You can see that her hips are starting to show beneath the spine there, and that's a function of the drought. No, that really is a little bit trying to see, especially she's got a little calf who she's suckling. And then Gremlins General, as that elephant disappears behind a tree, you want to know till what age will they look after their youngsters. Gremlins General, this is a astounding Twitter handle, you say at least it's she'll stay, if it's a female calf, she'll stay with the herd forever until she's an adult, but they stop being dependent at about 4 or 5 years, and although they will continue to be around their mothers and they will seek out the support of their mothers, they more seek the support of the whole herd from then, but they wean by about 3 or 4 years, and sometimes a little later than that, but normally around sort of 3 or 4 years. Thank you, Gremlins General. Right, let us continue, see what else we can find along the way. We'll try and get an update from that sighting. I think, however, that with the lateness of the day, we might get in. Kirsten, can you just find out from Jamie, please, how long her tyre change is going to take, because maybe she must go back there, but maybe we can try and make our way in there. I see they've had a little bit of trouble. We've got a great plethora of antelope here. We've got waterbuck up ahead, male and female, bull, there, that's him there. See him, Brian?
I do.
That's him there. And then to the right of him, a cow. Sorry, to the left of him. That's the other way, the port side. There's a cow. There she is, grazing peacefully. And to the left of them, we've got some nyalas. A really nice herd of nyalas. There we are. A beautiful bull nyala there. And he's got his hackles up. You can see he's got his white hair sticking up on the mantle. And that's because there's another, I did see another nyala bull around here. And I think that's why he's got his hackles up there. Very nice. See the tips of the horns there, and nobody knows really why Nyala's got white tips to the horns. And grazing, it looks like he's grazing, but he's not. He's eating forbs, which means sort of unidentified herbaceous plants. They can't eat grass. They don't have the digestive system to cope with it. I mean, they can, but they really will not derive any nutrition from it. So he has to find green leaves to eat. And while there are more in the way of green leaves from trees to find out here, they also carry with them the risk of the great chemical defensive mechanisms that they produce. So tannins and various other poisons make it difficult. So although apparently it looks like there's a lot of green leaf around, it doesn't mean that there's lots to eat for all of these animals. They will struggle to process a lot of the toxins and chemical defenses that these plants produce. Beautiful. Alrighty, on we go. Hello, Kathy in North Carolina. You want to know if the landowners plant food plants for the animals out here? No, Kathy. Everything is done purely on nature, as it were. And I'm just going to quickly show you a picture of the sun there. Isn't that nice, Brian? Very artistic of me to see that, I think. So, Kathy, no, nothing is planted in very extreme situations. The landowners may put out something like a salt lick, which is a sort of very hard, salty, mineral-rich block of, salt, really. And then the animals can come and lick that if they're feeling particularly desperate and hungry. But otherwise, no. There's not much done in the way of helping to feed the animals, especially through this sort of dry time. And that's because we want to try and let nature take its course, and of course that can be, it can sound a little ridiculous when you see that we have got dams and pumped pans and that sort of thing, but we try not to have too much effect. That is beautiful, Brian. Great slices of golden sunshine. Again, I'd love to say that that was my line, but it isn't. I stole it from, I think her name's Mary Atwood. Wrote an extremely depressing book called, what was it called? I've forgotten what it was called. Something about a god. Anyway, I'll get someone in the final control to tell. Don't go and read it, it's very, very depressing. Well, I suppose some people like depressing books. No, not The Hunger for God, Kirsten, another one. Try again. I think her name was Mary Atwood. Anyway. Not A Lost Believer either. I'll try and find out for you. Oh, and a kudu. Many kudu. Dozens of them. Well, 3. 1 bull, 2 cows. So, oh, you see what he's doing. Can you hear that, Brian? Can you hear the soft patter on the leaf litter? You know what that is?
I do.
It is the usual story, Brian.
The very usual story.
It is the soft pattering of dung balls hitting the leaf litter, as all animals seem to do when they see me. She's a rather splendid kudu cow. I thought she might cross the road, then thought, not so sure about this lot. He is magnificent. Look at him. Eh? You can see immediately why he is the emblem of the South African National Parks Board. Beautiful. You can see how heavy they are to carry. You see how he really does sway from side to side because of the mass of his head. Very impressive indeed. Righty. See what else we can find on this productive little stretch of road. There are a whole lot more kudu on the right hand side here. There we go. Mike, you say, why have there been so many pangolin sightings of late in the Kruger Park? Mike, I didn't know that there had been. I know there have been a few. I don't know, Mike. All I can think is that because there are sort of far fewer leaves on the trees than there would be during the summertime, and because we've had a bit of a drought, the vegetation is that much thinner, and perhaps that has caused them to be just a little bit more exposed. They do eat many ants and termites. Maybe there's some kind of change in the ant movements, and that's what they're following. I don't know, but I certainly haven't. I mean, while I have seen the odd picture posted on social media, I haven't been aware that there's been a great plethora of pangolin sightings. But Mike, those would be my guesses as to why they seem to be more of them around. The cheerful giggling of a family on Game Drive from Biffle's Hook you can hear, and we'll leave them to the kudus. Alrighty, on we go. That cloud is looking increasingly ominous as the sky starts to sort of lessen with light. How are you doing? Good. They looked so amazed to see us, didn't they, Brian? It's because we're celebrities, you know. We're so lucky. There was somebody sitting on the back of the car, and I waved like this, and he went, as if he'd spotted either a ghost or maybe he was just shocked by my woolly jumper, I'm not sure. I think it was my manly physique as well, Brian. Thank you, yes. I think that's exactly what it was. My manly physique. Right, let's go back out onto the Cheetah cut line, which is the eastern part of the reserve, and go north. Shane, thank you for your question. As we look at these gunmetal grey clouds attempting to scud across the sky, you say, when is the rainy season? Shane, the rainy season is normally sort of late, well, the earliest is late October. It begins, and then sort of up until the end of February, somewhere around there. Never very predictable. We did have a little spatter of rain today, didn't we, Brian? And what, probably about 0.5 millimetre.
Not even.
Not even. So 1 or 2 spits came out of this rather ominous sky. I think I've said ominous enough today, don't you, Brian?
Not nearly enough.
Not nearly enough. I think you're right. I'll say it a few more times then. So Shane, there were a few spits today. We do get a few spits during the winter time, but very seldom. Now we'll turn north onto the Beefleshoek cut line. Right, Smiles, thank you. It is Margaret Atwood. It's not Mary Atwood, and it's not Smiles and Oryx. What? Oryx and Crakes? It's not. It's Margaret Atwood, though, and it's called... No, not Year of the Flood. It's called A God of Something. Come on, chaps. I think it's called A God of Something. She won awards for it. No. No, not that one either. I thought it was their most famous one. I'll find it for you now. You know what? I will find it for you. Because I've got it on my books on my phone. Alright, while I have a look, Jamie's back up and running. Let's go and find out what she's got to tell you.
I'm so sorry about that. That was the... Oh goodness, now I can't find the radio. That was the longest and most complicated tyre change in the history of tyre changes. So, during the chaos of the lion hunt, I ripped out the valve. I tore it completely. And when I stopped for a brief break, all I could hear was air streaming out of our right front tyre. Easy enough. Changing a tyre is in theory a 5 to 10 minute job. Not a problem at all. Here's a problem. Was a problem for a couple of reasons. First of all, this lovely thing called a wheel spanner, I found it like this, which meant searching for this part was both essential and also relatively difficult in the chaos that is this vehicle. Then the jack wouldn't come out, then the jack wouldn't work, and then through the concerted effort of, thank you Dave, Mike Grover and most especially Kaylin Grover, who is 3, we managed to change the tyre whilst watched by Grandpa Grover, well, Candace Grandpa, Kaylin's little grandpa, big grandpa, and baby Casey, who, baby Casey at just about a year old, perhaps wasn't quite ready to change a tyre just yet, but watched with some serious concentration, so I feel like she'd be ready for the next one. I'm very warm now, considering it's a very wintry day. There's nothing like changing a tile, breaking a nail, and bashing bolts all in one. We did well though, Dave. I feel as though we perhaps won't earn a spot in the pit stops of the Formula 1 races, but, you know, close enough. That good half an hour tyre change we were pretty much spot on for. I'm going to the hyena den now. I don't quite know where James is, but I'm going to the hyena den. It's getting too late for us to jump in the queue for the lion cubs, and once the sun sets we won't be spotlighting them, and it is well on its way to doing so. Whew. Definitely a twinge in my back, and a misshapenness to my cushioning that wasn't there before. There we go. Okay, and we are back up and running. Very often in the bush, jobs that should be very, very simple turn out to be not so very simple. It is just the way of things. There's a certain inevitability to it. Shame, that kind driver of the pickup truck in front of us got very eager. in terms of pulling off the road. We're still miles away from him and he's already pulled off for us. How terribly kind. As I said, there's lots and lots of standbys for the lion cubs, and since it is getting dark and we won't be able to spotlight them, I don't think it is worth us trying to wait for a place in the queue and then have to leave anyway just because it has got dark. We definitely don't want to be putting spotlights on them at their current age. Oh, thank you, Mr. Driver. I'm going to speed up just because I feel terrible for this poor person, because it feels as though he's been waiting for me to go past for the last half an hour. Thank you! Thanks very much! Right, so Dave, on a very familiar patch of road today, back onto Buffelshoek cut line and off towards the hyena den. Dave and I have not travelled far today, but we have had a very, very dramatic afternoon. I think that since James is going to be setting up fireside chat, I don't know if he wants to head to the hyena den or not. We must just find out where we are in relation to each other. It's just been one of those days. It's been sort of utter chaos. The lions threw us into disrepair. Okay, now I'm... oh no. Oh, never mind. I thought I'd lost my coat in the changing of the tyre. I was about to be devastated. From one sunset to another, let's go across to James.
Everybody, we are just experiencing the most beautiful sunrise. And, well, you know, I know that my mother always complains that I take too many pictures of the sun. Well, I'm unable to stop myself at this stage. It's too wonderful for words. Is it not, Brian?
It is, but it's not a sunrise.
No, it isn't a sunrise, is it?
No.
It's a sunset, everybody. And that... the reason I called it a sunrise, of course, was because Kirsten, the final control, called it a sunrise. But that happens at the other time of the day, doesn't it, Brian?
It does.
Yes. Not now.
Not now, no.
Normally at the beginning of the day.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Beautiful. I think I've taken enough photographs of this. I'm still trying to find, everybody, what this beastly book is called. I may well have the wrong author. Yep, I think I may well. Anyway, we're going to make our way slowly towards the fireside chat after this incredible sunrise, but at sunset. While I do that, let's just to have a listen to what you can hear. And it really is very, very silent at the moment. All we can hear at the moment of the wind is the wind. And everybody, I found what it was. It wasn't Margaret Atwood, it was Kate Atkinson, A God in Ruins. There we are. And them is the great slices of sunshine. So almost no sound, just the rustling wind in the leaves. And a very fresh smell, obviously because it's winter, tainted with a bit of dust. That's because of the wind. But it is quite chilly, but very, very nice to have the sun's... very nice to have the sun's rays on our face. And D.A. No Name Hero, you're a new viewer and you say you're watching this for the first time and you say you think it's amazing. D.A. Hero, we think it's pretty amazing too, and it's great to have you with us. And thank you very much for taking the time to join us. It's really good to have you with us. And I hope that you will stay with us for some time to come. Stunning, stunning, stunning that we get to experience this every day of our lives. beautiful sunsets and magnificent sunrises in the morning, Brian. That's when they happen, I think, isn't it?
I think so.
It is normally.
Sometimes.
Sometimes in the morning. Just beautiful. Right, I'm going to take one last rank average photograph and then we can go. Oh, I can't decide whether I should focus on the clouds or on the bushes, Brian. What do you think?
The clouds.
Okay, clouds it is.
And one on the bushes, just for safety.
I have done one of those.
Okay.
Many. Thank you. Do you have my lens cover, Brian?
I do.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
As you were. Okay, everybody, we're going to make our way slowly towards the fireside chat and see what we can find there. Hopefully Jean-Dre and Brenty would have set up the fire. It'll be very nice. And I think it's going to get quite dark quite quickly. It certainly feels dark as soon as you turn away from the sun, because your eyes now, of course, are seeing spots all over the place. It feels like it's night time when you look away. On we go. I want to check that we have got enough time. I'm sure we do. Yes, we're okay. A God in Ruins, everyone. Kate Atkinson, excellent book, very depressing. Don't read it if you're feeling sad or anywhere close to some heavy medication. I think we're going to get an even better view of the sunrise at the top of the hill here. Brian, I can't see anything in front of us, can you?
Not really,
No. We're going to get a lovely shot of the sunrise from the west there. Sunset. I think I was the first one here to make that mistake. I've no doubt I won't be the last. James Richard, you say that after so many incredible sightings today, the bush spoils us yet again with an awe-inspiring sunset. Brian, you would describe that sunset as awe-inspiring and what else?
And savage.
And savage, exactly. Now, if you're wondering where that comes from, I think I may have told the story before, but Brian and I had to film an interview after we watched an incredible sighting of some wild dogs setting upon a hyena, and I can find myself going into the exact script that we went through. And every time I got into the swing of things, I'd say something like, I was astounded by the awe-inspiring savagery of the wilderness. And every time I got to that particular section of what I was saying, Brian would fall over himself laughing and we'd start again. Brian, how many takes did we do?
I think we did about 54.
54 takes, everyone. How many did we use? None. Not one.
They were just too savage.
They were too awe-inspiringly savage. Right, we're on the Beefleshoek cut line. It is quite chillsome here, I must say. We might just get one more view of the sun as it rises to the west there. There we go. And then we're going to disappear over the horizon, I think. I'm just stopping here because there is a vehicle in front of us and they might be in the lion sighting, so I just want to make sure. And while I make sure, of course, Brian, it is quite chilly, isn't it? Oh, look at those colours, everybody. A great layer cake of golden orange sun. That was mine, everyone. That's why it was pathetic. Was Margaret Atwood the Poisonwood Bible? No, she wasn't. I don't think I've ever read anything by Margaret Atwood. Why on earth I came up with her name, I couldn't tell you. Maybe I've seen it in my mother's bookshelf. Beautiful, wonderful, awe-inspiring, relatively savage. On we go. I have me bush jacket on, Alright, we're going to go quite a lot faster to get to the, not the hyena den, to the, where are we going, Brian?
The fireside chat.
Fireside chat, that's right. Jamie is at the hyena den now.
Jamie is at the hyena den indeed, and all is quiet. There's no hyena around at the moment. I don't know, we can't be sure just yet if she's moved the cubs. There were tracks all over the show this morning, right outside the den site, so I'm doubtful. I think she's probably just gone to look for some food. Oh, and I suddenly feel a little bit like Rusty's tire that we just took off her right front. A quick drink of water. Alright, let us continue onwards. No hyena here. Our confusion over whether James or myself would be coming here is relatively superfluous at this point. Let us head out. Oh, I definitely still smell hyena. They definitely smell like it's still occupied. There's a distinct scent to a hyena den. Combination of wet and somewhat dirty dog. We okay there, Dave? Sorry. There we go. Out we go. Wet dog and rotting meat. That doesn't sound very appealing, but it's something you get used to and almost associate with nice memories, because it's a smell that's associated with one of the most adorable baby animals. Just an update on the lion sighting. It has been closed by Ephraim, very wisely in my opinion, because at this point it's getting a little bit too dark, and as Ephraim said over the Game Drive channel, moms are going to go out to hunt and they're going to leave the little cubs alone. So they need a minimal amount of disturbance. But really, really exciting news. I don't know whether Ephraim's seen them, but it sounds like he has. He says he thinks there are now 6 little Nkuhuma cubs, not just 3. So we have some really incredibly exciting moments to look forward to. Sorry, everything's clanging in here. Just stay there. I've shifted everything around in my desperate search for the wheel spanner. Dave saved the day there. I don't know how he found it, but he did. Well done, Dave. Whew. And Angie in Ohio, I hope you enjoyed that incredible and dramatic moment as much as we did. Now, Angie, on the subject of our little cubs, she wants to know, will they keep them in the same den site when they go out to hunt? And it depends on their ages. And generally, as you know, lionesses move their den sites around, and usually when the cubs are newly born, the mother will actually she'll keep them separate even from another lioness with young cubs until they're, as we've said, right age. But once they're around that age, then yes, Angie, she will keep them in the same den site as the other female's cubs. So they will stay there, and they have different den sites that they will use depending on where they are. Let's just shift off the road here, make space for incoming cars. Oh goodness. Rusty has worked incredibly hard today. We spoke this morning about our vehicles braking and the hard use that we put them to. Rusty certainly proved herself today. How's it? How are you for? Sorry, it's all good. Hi guys. Yeah, not active. I've been waiting for a chance to call in, but you're people busy talking. Yeah, it's not active. Okay. Cheers guys. Bye bye. That will den. Sorry, they will keep them in separate den sites until they reach a certain age, at which point they will keep them in the same den site together, and they'll move them around, and once they reach a certain age they'll accompany their mothers, and then they'll make an almost a hiding place rather than a den site where they will keep them while they go out and hunt. And they've obviously decided that the drainage line around Buffelshoek Dam which is of course where we will be first thing tomorrow morning. And Ted Green, who is watching in Vermont and is Chelsea Green's father, Chelsea of course being our intern here. Ted, it's wonderful to have you watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Are you thinking along the lines of when we were watching that hunt, do the lions run the risk of being killed by buffalo, and if so, what is the risk? Yes, they absolutely do, and there's lots and lots of recorded cases of lions being killed either by being gored or by being kicked or injured in that way. They do risk their lives when they go in a hunt like that, particularly 3 females on their own. Having a male with that extra 200 plus pounds of weight that he has over the females is a tremendous advantage when it comes to hunting buffalo. Now Ted, we recently lost one of the members of the male coalition, the Birmingham Boys, the males that are dominant in this area. We lost a male called Scrapper, and we think, we'll never know, but we suspect that it was an injury that he obtained whilst he was hunting, and most likely hunting buffalo or giraffe, because those are the 2 big animals capable of causing a lion serious injury. And it looked as though, from what happened to him afterwards, potentially massive internal damage, or potentially even a collapsed lung. So they do get injured, and an injury out here can mean death, because unless, you know, a broken leg or something like that, for the lions to not be able to hunt, their pride mates will look after them as much as possible. They will share food, they will allow them to join them at kills, but if they can't keep up, the pride cannot risk waiting for them constantly. So an injury out here is a very, very serious matter, and I think that's why those lions gave up. I think that's why they left. They realized they were onto no good, and then of course the fact that they overheat very, very quickly. And speaking of overheating, I'm doing the opposite, so bear with me one moment. I'm just going to go around the corner and then stop to pop my jacket on, because the temperature has just dropped as the sun dips below the horizon. Now let me try and untangle my jacket from the chaos that is here. Oopsie. Throwing game drive channels all over the place. Okay, thank you. Much better. Snug and warm once again. What was extraordinary to me about that sighting, not extraordinary, but really fascinating to see, was the males chasing the lions. That's an interesting idea. Now, one of our viewers has read an article about painting eyes on the back of cows. This came from Peter. Painting eyes on the back of cows to potentially prevent the risk of lions attacking them. And do I think this works? I certainly think it would confuse them. I've heard stories. I remember as a child hearing stories and seeing pictures of human beings in... Sorry, turn this down a little bit. Hearing stories of people wearing masks on the back of their head in India to prevent tigers and other cats sneaking up and attacking them. That sticks out really clearly in my mind as a child, because I think it actually terrified me slightly, this idea. But do I think, we know that lots of animals have eyes, or fake eyes, owls, butterflies, meant to disturb predators. Do I think it will work for lions? My gut instinct says no. My gut instinct says perhaps it might confuse them once or twice, but I don't think it's going to deter them completely. I think that at some point they are going to learn that those eyes are of no threat whatsoever. It's a very interesting idea, but personally I don't think that it's going to work. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. If you disagree, you're more than welcome to. You're welcome to let me know. Perhaps you know of places where this has been proven to work. I'm not convinced. I'm not 100% sure that that would act to deter a lion permanently. But there's some incredible research that goes on into predator and farmer avoidance strategies. Rather than having farmers furiously destroying the predators because they have attacked their livestock, There's all kind, and it doesn't actually just apply to predators. It applies to elephants raiding crops, and many of you will have seen that incredible article about chili bombs, essentially, being sent towards elephants to get, not bombs, just to clarify, it's not an actual explosive, but basically like the equivalent of a water balloon, but using a different stretchy substance in this case, but filling it with chili and throwing it at elephants to deter them. And we know chili's been used for centuries as a way of keeping elephants out. I've heard of experiments into putting loudspeakers up around orchards to try and prevent baboons from raiding them, fruit trees. Now they've tried different things. They've tried playing baboon calls, territorial calls, warning calls, alarm calls, lion roars, leopard roars, all kinds of amazing techniques that really clever people, ideas that they've come up with, and not all of them work. But I think the most important thing is to have a government that provides just payment for whenever a predator kills some kind of livestock, rather than almost as a reward to say to the farmer, we will repay you, but please don't kill the predators. And slowly but surely attitudes towards predators are changing, which is a marvelous thing to see. And you can't blame desperate people for whom farming is their absolute livelihood and the livelihood of their families. It's not, the situations, conservation situations out here are never as simple as they might seem to us from a very comfortable perspective that we have. I really enjoy hearing those different ideas. The beehives and the elephants, that was something that the viewers taught me about when I first started working here, doing these live safaris, putting beehives up because elephants don't like the sound of bees. Really wonderful. Clever ideas, and there's always room for improvement and ideas that will help in the conservation and the prevention of farmer-wildlife conflict. And that applies, I guess it doesn't just apply to Africa, although that's obviously where my area of interest and knowledge lies, but it applies across the world. I know there was a big thing about the reintroduction of wolves into Scotland, and the fear about the impact that they would have on the farming communities in that area. And there are some marvelously clever people. Just on a different tack, but a similar one entirely, Andrew in the Ukraine would like to know if it's safe to travel throughout Africa on a bicycle. And Andrew, I have a friend who did that. He did that very thing. He cycled throughout Africa as a way of, he was working for a water resource company, or a water conservation NGO, to raise awareness for water conservation, to raise funding for it. And he rode all the way throughout Africa, and he was absolutely fine. And he wrote some incredible articles about it. I'd have to double check where you can find those. I'll have a chat with him and see if I can't get hold of them for you and actually share them with all of our viewers, because I think some of you would find it absolutely fascinating. But my friend Alex did do that, and he found it incredible. At no point did he say he felt enormously threatened. Andrew, would I do it personally? I don't think so, depending on the situation, but it's unfortunately within Africa there's risks that are there. There's conflict situations. Central Africa is a terrifying place at times, but that's said from a perspective of someone who's never been there. I've just heard stories. And then of course there's all kinds of terrifying things that happen in Sudan and Somalia and so on. But would I do it personally? No, I think I'd be a little bit too scared. And then I hate to say it, but I'm also, as a woman traveling throughout Africa, it also adds an extra, oh, our door's open. Well, you know, there's risk everywhere. I could have gone tumbling out. Probably not, though. It's on the other side. I'm tempted to say I would do it, but I'm not sure. There are so many wonderful places in Africa that I would love to go and visit, and the world. But to get to go, for example, to Ethiopia and see the rare red wolf, One of the most endangered canids in the world. Oh, there's just so many marvelous creatures to see. What we're doing at the moment, the spotlight in my hand, this is for our new viewers, and of course new viewers jump on board each and every single day. We have somebody new joining us. So what we're doing at the moment is we're using a spotlight to pick up on... Oh, it's Impala. Sorry Dave. False alarm, at least it wasn't a lion log. To pick up on the reflection of an animal's eyes. Now what we don't do is shine a spotlight on or a light on diurnal animals for a prolonged period of time, because what that does is it's like if I turned around and shone this in your face or in poor Dave's eyes, you'd be blinking bright spots away and struggling to rectify your vision. And it does the same thing to our diurnal animals, so a brief pass of the spotlight over them is fine, but prolonged exposure immediately puts them at risk of predation. And of course this is the most dangerous time of the day for the animals. Cheetah are still hunting on a day like today. Wild dogs are still hunting at a time like now, but the lions are also active. We've just seen those hunting lionesses. And those lionesses, the Nkuhumas, are going to be hunting full force this evening. Having had a look at them today, those brief moments that we could see them properly, I mean it was so quick and so much amazing stuff going on. But they were hungry, and we've actually now been saying that for a considerable period of time. We were here with Brent, and we switched with him 2 or 3 days ago now, where he was with Amber Eyes and the Birmingham boy, and we were saying how hungry they looked, and it doesn't look like they've had a meal yet, or if they have, it has not been a substantial one. At this point they've gone at least, when was that buffalo kill? Must have been about a week. It must be more than a week. No, it was a Saturday. Yes, it was. It's a week ago. It's just over a week ago since the last time that we know that they ate. They might have had something in between, but if they did, it's nothing big, because there's some very empty bellies from the Nkuhuma pride. So they are going to be hunting tonight, and tomorrow on the sunrise safari we will be heading straight to that area to see whether they have had any success at some point in the evening. I wonder what happened to that male lion from this morning. That's what I would like to know. I'm surprised he wasn't following behind those females. I think he was initially when we lost him. While we travel along looking for our mysterious nocturnal beasties, Mike, yes, I have seen a bat-eared fox. As I said, I used to work in the Kalahari, where you find them in not huge numbers, but you often see them. It's not an animal that we see here. If we found a bat-eared fox here, it would be very, very lost, very confused. But absolutely, I have seen a bat-eared fox. They are one of my favorite little animals to see. We used to see them every evening driving home. They would come and they'd run out in the middle of the road. So a bat-eared fox is an animal, and as its name suggests, it has the most enormous ears, totally disproportionate to the rest of its body, almost like a fennec fox. And they are insectivorous little creatures that live in these little family groups, and they pop out into the road and they run forward and they look back at you with these bright, curious eyes. Definitely an animal that I would love to be able to share with you, and who knows, the more people we get on board, the more opportunities there may be, not to give too much away, but the more opportunities there may be to see things like the magical bat-eared foxes, or a Cape fox, or a spring hare. There's lots and lots of different creatures in South Africa that I would love to be able to share with you all. Now we're coming slowly to the end of our sunset drive portion of this afternoon's sunset safari, and Dave and myself are slowly but carefully meandering our way towards fireside chat, where we will be discussing, in no specific order, lion cubs. We could have guessed that. And then we will be talking a little bit about the... What are we talking about again? I've forgotten.
The Ellie.
The Ellie, and what was the other thing? Oh, for goodness sake, that was it. I'm sorry. The lion hunt has totally removed all thoughts from my brain. We will be talking about that incredible sighting that Brent had on Cheetah Plains with Shrimbambalana and the quarantine male, both sons of a different generation of Karula, the Queen of Djuma. Those are the topics that we will be conversing about on this evening's fireside chat. And thank goodness the wind appears to have stopped blowing, so you won't get to see us weeping our way through it as the smoke blows into our eyes. And I'm imagining that the setup is going on frantically at present, while we slowly meander our way up towards quarantine. That's a very good point from Love 3 Dogs. You know what, I was thinking about the question about riding through Africa. I was thinking about it in terms of safety from human beings. That was where my mind went to. But just so you know, I would definitely be very, very careful of riding a bicycle through a wilderness area. I wouldn't drive through this game reserve on a bicycle, I have to tell you. I would be genuinely very nervous, having heard stories of lions attacking people on motorbikes. And elephants don't particularly like people on bicycles as well. So Love 3 Dogs is absolutely right by pointing out that there's a video of cyclists being chased by ostriches. I'm laughing, it must have been genuinely terrifying for them. But yes, there is a video of cyclists being chased by ostriches. There's that video of a cyclist being knocked off his bike by a hartebeest, a relative of the wildebeest, as it leaps over his head and knocks him. He was fine, but I imagine very shaken and a little bit uncomfortable after that. But riding a bicycle through the game reserves of Africa, absolutely not. No, thank you. I know people do it. Definitely not. It's one thing to go walking through the bush when you're in control, you're listening, you're watching what's happening, but when you're speeding past, you are basically like fast food to a lion, because you've lost that threatening bipedal human form. I've also heard stories of elephants being infuriated by the clicking sound of bicycles. So no, please don't go riding a bicycle through the African bush if there's Big Five around. I've even heard of cheetah, and cheetah are one of the most innocuous of the big cats, chasing people on bicycles. Guides and other reserves watch safari live. Kathy, I know that certainly some of them have watched the clips before. I'm trying to think, I don't know of any guides that watch regularly, and I'll tell you why. Because chances are the internet out here in the African bush doesn't always tend to be able to cope with the demands of a live stream safari. I'm not aware of too many guides that watch the live safaris, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if there are some out there. I think it would be a wonderful way of keeping up with the comings and goings of the different animals, and guides in this area perhaps being able to use it as a way of keeping track of the characters that they've also become familiar with, the leopards and the lions. Maybe if they were to leave this area and go and work elsewhere, a way of keeping track. The frantic preparation for fireside chat is underway. Here they are silhouetted against the sky, busy sorting things out, getting ready. We will be joining them very, very shortly. So I hope you're all ready and excited for the time that is ahead. I'm going to say farewell for now, and a big thank you to Dave. We're going to head to Fireside Chat. We'll